What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and we're back to follow through on what I had said we would do for our classical journeys once I got through the first Brandenburg Concerto, that I was going to jump back for the second and third movements of his Johann Sebastian Bach's Harpsichord Concerto BWV 1052 in both the original harpsichord form and in the piano rendering, with the piano taking over the lead role in the concerto. So yes, that means 4 movements. I'm going to do the original harpsichord version first. I mentioned there's also violin renderings of this concerto out there, so maybe at some point in the future I'll go through that. But yes, we are going back to the harpsichord version that I did the first movement for now several months ago, and this is, as I learned through YouTube's algorithms, performed by Christine Schornsheim on the harpsichord, Burkhard Glaetzner as the conductor, and the Neues Bachisches Collegium Musicum is the... what's the right word? What's the phrase I'm looking for? Arrangement, or the chamber music performance group. So yes, the second movement is an Adagio. It is a slower movement. It doesn't have that dramatic fire of the first movement, but I do think it's a nice balance after the intensity of the first movement here as the Adagio second movement. So let's hear it. This is Bach's Harpsichord Concerto BWV 1052 as performed by Christine Schornsheim on the harpsichord, conducted by Burkhard Glaetzner, and the chamber music performers are the Neues Bachisches Collegium Musicum, and it is the second movement, the Adagio. wonderful. And as I said, it is a very different movement than the opening movement, which has a lot of energy and pace, and there's a lot of fire to it. Whereas this is slower, more considered, and restrained. And yet, in a way, I feel like not only is there good balance in the differences between the first two movements, but there's actually continuity too, meaning this movement, albeit slower and more mental or cognitive sounding rather than very visceral and dramatic, it does carry on the feeling of some danger being afoot, some mystery, and mystery that is perhaps a bit of a threat. There is that vibe in a lot of this movement where, you know, there's shadowy events going on, and although here you're sitting down wondering about them rather than feeling like maybe you need to escape or to intensely discover what the danger is, like in the first movement, yeah, it really does give off a bit of this vibe of uncertainty with maybe a twist of mystery and worry. It is, again, a very Baroque sounding piece, which it's almost like a tautology because, of course, Bach is one of the Baroque masters, and the harpsichord in particular, it just has a very Baroque sound to it, and the chamber music type arrangement rather than a full orchestra, that also sounds very Baroque. But again, you must call a spade, and it has a very lovely Baroque sound to it. So yes, as I said, I'm going to finish this version of the concerto next time around with the third movement, which in the moment I'm forgetting what type of movement it is. It is an allegro. And then I will do the second and third movements in the piano version. And then, I'm not sure, like at some point in the not too distant future, I'd like to do another classical days. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed doing that week of classical music reactions where I'm doing entire symphonies and concertos and sonatas in the same batch, one after another. And it's, you know, my lifelong musical love, classical music. It's one of the very first music types that I heard because my dad is a big fan. And of course, I've inherited a lot of my collection from him. And yes, it was just a joy to me to do that. And I know there were at least a handful of people who were really into it and some others who found my channel through those classical days. Now, again, I realize for a lot of other people, it means the regular deep dives will be on hold. And then I did that again when I went through the holiday period because I'm doing the holiday reactions where the normal reactions are on hold. So given the fact that in the last, 6 months or so, maybe last 5 months, I've done 2 separate, let's put everything else on hold so I can do this special thing, which I'm especially into. I may wait another few weeks, maybe another couple months, but in the first half of this year, before we get to the end of June certainly, and probably before then, maybe by the time we get to May, I'm going to do another classical days. Maybe by the end of April even. I feel like, I want it to be sooner rather than later, but I am conscious of all the different journeys and deep dives and people waiting for things and enjoying different weekly reactions and so on. So yes, I will consider all these things, but as I said, sometime in the not too distant future I'm going to do Classical Days 2026. And so the question is, after I finish the 2 versions of this Bach concerto, I may do one more piece, one more 3 or 4 movement piece. And then when we come back around for classical reactions again, it'll be the Classical Days 2026. So that's the plan. Let me know what you think of this performance. I will see you next time. Peace.